And greetings, everybody. Thanks for viewing and listening in today, whether it be by radio or here on YouTube. We want to encourage you to go to the website, prophecyandespoly.com, and find us there. And you can find the YouTube channel right there. Click the subscribe button when you get there. And hey, share these with your friends and family. And Dr. Hilton is here in the studio with me. And we're going to talk today, Doc, about something that's in the new book. Yes. And I'm finding myself, and we wrote this, but I'm finding how handy this thing is. Because I was thinking today, I said, man, we need to do something about Israel today. And I said, boy, let's hit on that replacement theology stuff. And then I'm thinking, man, I can just go to page 97 in the book.
Yes.
Replacement theology, and it explains what that is.
And make sure the people know how they can get a copy of that book.
Well, this is Bible prophecy terminology, brand new. Doc and I wrote this book. It's just out. In fact, as of today, what is this? Is this the 7th, 5th, 6th? This is January 6th, the date of recording. And this book is actually, they're telling me that this book is actually at my house and at the mail delivery place in Owensboro, Kentucky. We have 4 cases of them that have been delivered so far, and so these will be going out in the mail to the dozens and dozens of you that already ordered. These will be going out either Saturday or Monday. So, but in this book, what I did, I went to the table of contents, Doc, and I looked up replacement theology, and there was page 97, and you happen to be the author of this chapter. And there's a story in the headlines that I'm going to read in just a second, and it's going to go with this. And it's going to prove that Israel is still out there. They haven't been replaced. But let me read a paragraph here from the book. Replacement theology is a term often used to describe a teaching that the church has replaced Israel in all the promises and prophecies God gave to Israel. And you and I know better than that.
Oh, I don't know how anybody can be so blind to not see that.
Yeah.
They don't back far enough away to see the entire picture of prophecy and understand it revolves around Israel being in their land.
Now, the church was grafted in, the Gentiles are grafted in
Romans 11.
To become the church because Israel refused to take their place in history. And that doesn't mean that Israel doesn't exist. It doesn't mean the promises God gave them are not real.
The church was the mystery that Paul is going to reveal. And a mystery is not something that's mysterious. It's just something that was hidden, didn't need to be revealed until it was its time.
And I don't know whether anyone else agrees with me. This is what I teach in my books. And I don't know if you agree with me, but I believe that the church was always going to be here. And it's like you say, it's a mystery.
Yes.
It was already foreordained that God was going to use the church.
Oh, absolutely.
But I believe it was going to be a Jewish-run church.
Well, it was Jewish in its first 2 years
until Acts chapter 7.
And it wasn't until you get to chapter 7 of Acts.
Yeah.
And when you get even into Antioch, the calling out of all of the missionary Paul and all that, you realize they were all Jews.
Yeah, and I believe that Israel was going to head it up, and I believe that Stephen, what I call the last barley standing, preaching to Israel, to the leaders of Israel in Acts chapter 7. I believe that's when God shut the door for Israel. Now, you could mistakenly think that's the end of Israel. It's not the end of Israel.
No. That's why Paul said in Romans chapter 11, hey, don't get too haughty about this thing, because he who laid them aside is going to pick them up again and put them back where they started.
Exactly right.
Yes.
And we know, and boy, the old timers. I'm talking about Joe Boyd. Some of the viewers may know him or may not. M.R. DeHaan, other great, great, probably Tim LaHaye and some of them. They all kind of said the same thing. I remember this as a young Christian. They all seemed to talk about the fact that keep your eyes on Israel. They'd say, you want to know where we are in prophetic history?
They realize that prophecy revolves around Israel.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it does. With that in mind, let me read the story, and I just got this today. This is actually from December 25th, just a week, 2 weeks ago now. But pretty important story as far as prophecy people goes. And the headline is this, and by the way, this is from somebody named Hannah Levy Julian. And this is from the Ynet News, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
let's see here. And it has the year 5783 on the Jewish calendar. Okay, Russia demands ownership over 3 additional Jerusalem properties.
Yep.
Russia has demanded that Israel transfer ownership over 3 historic churches, all of them located. Now, they already have a church that we talked about in the past. Yeah. They already own a church in Israel somewhere. These are 3 different ones, I understand. They're demanding ownership, the transfer of ownership over 3 historic churches, all of them located on the Mount of Olives, which is interesting.
That's very interesting.
From former Prime Minister of Russia, Sergei Stepanshin, if I said that even close, announced Sunday that he intends to file a lawsuit in an Israeli court to force the Jewish state to return ownership of the churches to Russia. To return ownership, meaning they feel like they used to own them.
They feel like that? Well, they are Russian Orthodox churches.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Stefanin is defined as the head of the Palestinian Imperial Orthodox Society, they reported. Yeah. Now, I got to read the rest of this. That didn't print out right. I got to read the rest of it over here on my iPad.
Well, what people don't know that in Israel, you've got the Russian Orthodox, you've got the Greek Orthodox, you've got the Roman Catholicism, you've got Protestant churches, you've got all of these different kind of churches. Yeah. In Israel, because over the centuries of time, they built those churches, claimed those places, and so today they want it back.
All right, so here's the rest of the article. The 3 targeted properties, here they are, are those of the Mary Magdalene Monastery, the Ascension Monastery, and the Church of Vera Galilee, or something like that, I can't read it, which also, I can't pronounce it, which also serves as the summer residence of the Greek Orthodox Patriarch, who is no fan of the Israeli government. Yeah. Princess Anne of Battenberg, grandmother of the UK's King Charles III. This is what got my attention. Yeah. King Charles III is mentioned here. Yeah. Excuse me. Princess Alice of Battenberg is the grandmother of King Charles III in the UK and the great-granddaughter of Queen Victoria of England. And
is buried there.
And she's buried at the Mary Magdalene Monastery. The princess was declared a righteous among the nations following her death. Yeah. All of this comes as Russia's President Vladimir Putin is still awaiting a decision regarding the ownership of the Alexandrian Court complex in Jerusalem. That may be the other one that we were thinking of, which is in a strategic tourist location in the heart of the old city. Now,
I've been to that one.
Yeah. Yes. Incoming Prime Minister Netanyahu promised Putin that Israel would transfer ownership over the site to Russia in exchange for the release of Israeli citizen Naama Issachar, who was jailed in Moscow for drug possession in 2019. Now, I think
that sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah. Now, I think he's talking about that other property, not the one on the Mountain of Olives.
Right.
Issachar was released, but Israel has not yet kept its end of the deal, somebody says here. A special team of ministers is expected to be formed to discuss the issue and to make a decision when the new government is seated. I won't read the rest of it, but
that sounds like the scripture. Is it Luke 18? He said, Jerusalem will be trampled under the feet of the Gentiles until the fullness of the Gentiles come in. I'm telling you, people don't realize just because they have their country, they still don't do a whole lot they want to do without some Gentile government somewhere being involved.
Now, the fullness of the Gentiles, is that one of our terms in here?
I think so.
If it's not, you talk about it in here. And I believe
the fullness of the Gentiles is when the end of the period of time that's existing started with the time of the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem
in 600 BC.
In 600 by Nebuchadnezzar. They have never been without some Gentile rulership over Israel, even to this day. They didn't claim the Golan Heights until an outside entity Trump, Gentile rule, said this is yours.
And
it's amazing.
And Mr. Putin is contesting that.
Yes,
he says Syria owns it.
Oh, yeah. And all of that will not have, they'll never get full control until it's the millennial reign.
Okay, so I think everybody understands or agrees on the beginning of the Gentile rule.
Yes.
But where do you put the end of it?
Oh, the ending is at the Battle of Armageddon.
Okay. Yeah.
That's where it ends.
Because I think there's difference of opinions. Some think it's at the rapture.
Oh, no, it's absolute. Well, the tribulation is that is the final Gentile rule.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That's those toes that's going to get crushed by Daniel's prophecy. That's the toes that's going to get
cut out without hands.
That's right. That's the millennial reign that's coming to take it over, and Jewish reign. Yeah.
So this thing about, and I read that story because letting people know Israel hasn't gone away. They're in the news all the time. They're important. The whole world is looking at them. Yeah. It is the center of the universe.
Well, Zechariah chapter 12 says, I believe it's 3 and 4. He said he's going to make Jerusalem a cup of trembling to all them that are about. And everybody that gets involved in it's going to get cut to pieces. And
there's something about Israel that the world wants.
Well, the reason, Dan, I'm convinced, the reason why Israel is hated by the world is the fact that Israel is the woman of Genesis chapter 3. And Israel provided the body for the Messiah to provide redemption for the world. That's why the devil hates Israel.
They brought the Messiah into the world.
That's it.
The Bible says that the holy oracles of God, which is the Scriptures, were given to them.
Yes.
And they're an amazing people. It can't be denied. Some of the greatest inventions in the world were
That's
Jews.
What I'm saying. How can you hate the people that have provided some of the greatest medical breakthroughs, scientific, you name it.
Nuclear bomb. Yeah, they did that.
And the line just keeps going on.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they haven't gone away, and they have a place. They have their place in the end time.
Oh, yes.
And it's all going to happen right there.
Well, the 70th week of Daniel is added to the 69 weeks together of Daniel's prophecy. Yeah. You can't fulfill the last 7 weeks or 7 years without having Israel back in their land again. I don't know how people can miss it.
You say in the chapter that you wrote that replacement theology has its roots in the early years of the formation of corrupt doctrine that produced the Catholic Church movement.
Yes.
This is how the Pope, through the era of the Crusades, could raise such military campaigns against the Muslims.
Exactly right.
They taught in error that they were the church, and Israel in particular, Jerusalem, belongs to them.
Yeah, that's it. This is how the Pope could get all these armies to try to take I don't remember, is it 40-some times, 49 times, or something of that nature? I wrote a book, I don't know if she could find it, but anyway, Jerusalem, the cup of trembling. And it's been under siege, it's been destroyed and rebuilt. No other city on planet Earth has ever experienced all.
Well, we got less than a minute. Here's that verse you were quoting, Romans 11, verse 1. It's in the chapter. I say then, have God cast away his people? Can you hear Paul saying it? Have God cast away his people? God forbid. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. Yes. Romans 11. Here's a New Testament born-again Christian.
That's right.
Bragging about his Israeli roots.
And he's the one that's going to write about the many things of the end time of the church age and bringing in. Israel's got to be back in their end for it.
Folks, that and so much is in this book, Bible Prophecy Terminology. Go to the website and get it. Thanks for listening in on the radio. Thanks for watching on YouTube. We'll see you again next time. Keep your eyes on them skies.